Hello and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the new lecture on aerosols. The material for this lecture has been taken and adapted from Ensel's pharmaceutical dosage forms and drug delivery systems. My name is Shoaib Muhammad, faculty member at Department of Pharmaceutics, Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Sindh. So this is the outline of the current lecture. In this lecture, firstly we will be having the introduction of the aerosols. Then we will be discussing the categories of the aerosols that are available. And finally, we will be discussing the advantages and disadvantages of aerosols. So, by definition, aerosols are the pressurized packs consisting of fine dispersion of liquid or solid particles in a gas where the particle size is less than 50 micrometer in diameter. So these are basically the pressurized packs. The material inside the container is into the pressurized form, and the material that is present inside the container may be the dispersion of a liquid or maybe the dispersion of solid particles. Maybe the active pharmaceutical ingredients are dispersed in a liquid or maybe dispersed into a gaseous phase. And in the aerosols, we have to control the particle size up to 50 micrometer, because more than this size can cause the blockage of the actuator. The aerosols can also be defined as pressurized dosage forms that upon actuation emit a fine dispersion of liquid are solid materials containing one or more active ingredient in a gaseous medium. So in the aerosols, the drug is present in a pressurized form that has been dispersed in a liquid or maybe into a gas. The drug itself may be into a liquid form or a solid particle form, okay, and its particle size should be less than 50 micrometer. And upon the pressing of a button or the actuation of the button, the drug comes out. The aerosols differ from most other dosage forms in their dependence upon following for physical delivery of the medication in proper form. So there are certain things, certain discriminated things as compared to the other dosage forms that are present into the aerosols, and they help into the physical delivery of the drug. So number one is the function of the container. For the aerosols, we have to use specialized containers. Those specialized containers can be used for designing of the drugs into the aerosol form. Next is the valve assembly. Along with the container, the valve or the closing component of the container is also very important into the aerosols. We call it as the valve assembly. The pattern of the particles, okay, or the amount of the drug that is coming from the container will depend upon the valve assembly. The third thing is the propellant. The propellant is also one of the major component of the aerosols. Without a propellant, the drug cannot come out from the container with the push of a button. So we have a number of the propellants presents, and depending upon the product or depending upon the final product that has to be used by the patient, we can use different type of the propellants, as well as we have to consider that the propellant is stable with the drug as well as with the materials that we are using for the containers. Initially, when the aerosols were discovered in 1940s, they were especially used for the dissemination or spreading of the insecticides. These sprays were used just for killing the insecticides, and these were pressurized packs, and these were simply spreading the insecticides by the push of a button. But nowadays they are intended for local action in the nasal area. When we are applying the aerosol into the nose, the drug is spreaded or disseminated into the nose, and then it can be absorbed through the nasal mucosa, or as well as it can go into the lungs as well. We can use into the mouth and through the throat. It can go into the lungs to produce the local effect into the lungs, or even it may be absorbed through the systemic circulation into the lungs, and it can go into the systemic circulation and blood and produce the effect in whole of the body. That may be called as the inhalation or the aerosol therapy. Now the aerosol categories. The aerosols can be categorized into two classes depending upon the use. Number one are the topical preparations, and number two are the preparations that are used into the body cavities. So, firstly, we will discuss about the topical preparations. The topical preparations have been further divided into: number one is local analgesics. Now, the analgesic drugs are used to relieve the pain. So, different types of the drugs that relieve the pain can be used into the aerosol form to apply on different sites of the body to relieve the pain. Uh, Along with the analgesic effect or pain relieving effect of the drug, the refrigeration action of the evaporating propellant is also used to produce surface analgesia. The cooling effect produced by the propellant also helps in relieving the pain, like ethyl chloride spray, which act as both propellant as well as analgesic. The next category is local anesthetics. The local anesthetic drugs basically desensitize the nerves at the site of application, and eventually, as a result of desensitization of the nerves, the pain perception is not detected by the brain. So in this category, like, we can give the benzocaine or xylocaine in the form of the aerosols, and when they will be applied onto the affective area or onto the painful area, they will cause the desensitization, and eventually the pain symptoms will be released. Next, we have the antiseptics and skin sterilizers. So we can also use the antiseptics, which are used for killing or cleaning of the microorganisms from the skin, or different substances that are used for cleaning of the skin. Now, normally we have to apply, for example, a spirit with the help of a spirit swab, or any kind of the antiseptic with the help of a spirit swab, or with the help of a hand, to apply onto the wound, and eventually there will be cleaning of the wound. But by the help of the aerosols, we can formulate the drug into the aerosol, and by simply the push of a button, the drug will be applied onto the skin, and antiseptic and sterilization of the skin will be carried out. So, for example, chlorhexidine, benzalkonium chloride, surgical spirits. These may be used for pre-operative skin sterilization and in the treatment of the burns, where swabbing with the antiseptic will cause discomfort. Now, for example, if we have a patient who has burns, so if we touch the burn with the hand, even with the glove or with any instrument, it will cause pain to the patient. Or even if we are using the cotton swab, it will cause pain to the patient. Even we can, if you want, the patient is going for the surgical operation, and we want to sterilize the skin with the help of the spirit swab, the cleaning of the wound with the help of the spirit swab will cause pain to the patient. Instead, if we are using the aerosols, by applying the aerosols, the area will be covered with the antiseptic drug, and it will be cleaned properly. Even nowadays, instead of applying the spirit by the help of the spirit swab. The surgical spirit is usually formulated into aerosol for prevention of the bed sores. In topical preparations, next category we have the skin dressings. Now, normally you know that uh, we are using the dressings and we are applying the dressing with the help of a hand. Okay, we are applying the plasters with the help of a hand. There may be a muslin cloth that may be used for applying the surgical dressings, but nowadays the surgical dressings of specialized material can be applied with the help of aerosols. The materials like polymers as acrylic resins can be used as dressings. These materials are formulated as pressurized packs or the aerosols, and we are applying the aerosol onto the part of the skin which we want to have a dressing, or a wounded skin or a damaged skin which we want to have a dressing. We simply apply the aerosol onto that part of the skin, and after some time a thick layer of the polymeric material will be formed, and there will be no need of further dressing onto these. You might have seen into the sports settings that when a player is having injury, instead of having some kind of the bandage, the physiotherapists or the physicians are just applying a layer of the material or a spray of the drug that will relieve the symptoms as well as provides a coating of the or a dressing onto the skin. The next category we have the fungicidal agents. These are the drugs which are used for killing of the fungi, and there are different types of the infection that can be caused by the fungi, and these preparations or these drugs can also be formulated as aerosols. Like the anticyclinic acid derivatives and 3-para-chlorophenoxypropane 1,2-diol are used for such conditions like as athlete's foot. Now, athlete's foot is basically a fungal infection, and in the athletes there are more chances of the fungal infection as they are continuously wearing the shoes, and there is humidity onto the shoes, and into the humidity there are more chances of the fungal growth, and because of that in between their fingers of the feet and in between the toes they have spots. These are called as the athlete's foot. The next category we have the antiseptics, sorry, the anti-parasitic drugs. The drugs that are used to kill the parasites can also be designed to the form of the aerosols, like the drugs that are used for the treatment of the scabies can also be formulated as aerosols. The next category of the topical preparation that can be formulated is the aerosols or the antibiotics. The antibiotics are the class of the drugs which are used to treat the bacterial infections. Especially here we are talking about the drugs that are treating the skin infections. So the neomycin, polymyxin, tioterin, and gentamicin are used as powder aerosols. These drugs are used to treat the skin infections, and these can be used as powdered aerosols, and even they give good coverage in micronized suspension form. So if they are even formulated into the micronized powder form, as the particle size into the aerosols is less than 50 micrometers, so they will be uh, giving more effective use. And even some have been used as spray on ointments. Some of the drugs have been formulated in ointments in oleaginous bases that can be even used as the aerosols. And when we apply or with the push of the button, the ointment will be simply applied onto the skin. The next category we have the anti-inflammatory agents, the drugs which are used to decrease the inflammation. So here we are talking about the drugs which are decreasing the inflammation onto the skin or the outer body parts. For the drugs over here, like the hydrocortisone and its derivatives, can be used into the form of the aerosols. Hydrocortisone is a corticosteroid, and the corticosteroids are very effective in the treatment of the inflammation, and these can be designed as in aerosol form, which can be applied onto the skin, and eventually the inflammatory symptoms will be relieved. The last category of the topical preparations are the antipruritic drugs. The drugs that are used to treat the pruritus can also be formulated into the aerosol form. The examples of the drug include the fluocinolone acetonide. The next major category of the aerosols are the preparation for administration into the body cavities, like the aerosols that are applied into the nose or into the mouth or into the air. So these preparations are called the preparations that are administered into the body cavities. So first category in this we have the aerosols that are containing the air or otic preparations, and these aerosols are applied into the air, and these aerosols are most effective into the treatment of the otitis media. It's a type of the infection of the middle ear, and into the infections of the middle ear, the aerosols have been found very effective. The next major category of the aerosols is the nose or the nasal preparations. These aerosols are applied into the nose, and these aerosols may produce effect locally, or may be absorbed into the systemic circulation, or may go into the respiratory tract and produce effect over there. The most effective agents that are used as nasal preparations are the nasal decongestants. If anyone having the decongestion and having problem into the breathing, they can simply use the aerosols that may contain quinine, camphor, menthol, chlorobutol, thymol, oil of eucalyptus, methyl salicylate, and ephedrine hydrochloride. These agents may be used singly as well as these are also effective in combination. The next category we have the throat preparations. These preparations are applied in through the mouth, and they are producing effects locally onto the throat. Uh, these preparations give relief of the pain symptoms if the patient is suffering from the sore throat. These patients can use these kind of the preparation, and a benzocaine preparation is also available for preparing patient for laryngoscopy. If patient is going for a laryngoscopy, so we have to ready the patient for that process. So there is a benzocaine preparation that the benzocaine is basically local anesthetic drugs. It will cause desensitization, and eventually the pain caused during the process will be relieved. The next category in preparations for administrations into the body cavities are the oral preparations. Now, the oral preparations that are present into the aerosol form, that can be used for local effect into the oral cavity or the mouth, or they can be used for the systematic effect through the blood by absorption of the drug through the oral mucosa. The drugs which produce the effect locally are the antiseptics and the odoriferous agents that are used for the mouth hygiene are the halitosis. Halitosis means the bad smell into the mouth. So if a person want to keep the mouth hygienic and want to get rid of the bad smell of the mouth, so the antiseptic and odoriferous preparations of the aerosols are available to be used into the mouth. For in the dentistry, the drug to effect produce the local effect or the pain relieving effect are also available into the aerosol form, like the amitrocaine HCl and benzocaine preparations into the aerosol form are available into the dentistry to produce the pain relieving effect. The final category into the preparation that are used into the body cavities are the preparations for action into the lungs. Basically, these preparations are also maybe given through the nose or through the lungs. So that's why we have included it into the administration into the body cavity, and through the mouth it will go into the lungs. And when these preparations reach into the lungs, they may produce local effect into the lungs, or onto the lungs, or they may produce systemic effect by absorption into the blood. The isopropylaline, adrenaline, noradrenaline, and atropine are used in the treatment of the asthma, chronic bronchitis, and emphysema. You might know about the asthma. It's a breathing problem. Into the chronic bronchitis, the bronchi become inflamed, and into the emphysema, the air sacs into the lungs become enlarged and damaged, and eventually the patient is having the breathing problems. So for the treatment of these conditions, the aerosol preparations of these drugs are available, and these can be used effectively. Lobeline HCl, it's a drug that is anti-smoking agent. It can be used for smoke cessation therapy. So it is also available into the aerosol form. In some situations, the aerosol preparations also contain the radiological diagnostic agents such as the propylidone for X-ray examination of the respiratory tract. So before going for the examination of the respiratory tract, a spray or aerosol of this drug is taken. The radiological agent spreads up into the respiratory tract, and it gives a better imaging. It's quite easier method for the easier actually we can say this is for easier diagnostic method. So these are all the categories there of the aerosols that are available into the markets, and that means there is wide use of the aerosols into the market, and there is wider scope of the aerosols into the markets because these are much easier are the patient compliant dosage forms. Now the advantages of aerosols. The aerosols are convenient in use. With the single push of a button, the drug can be applied onto the affected area. Its use is very speedy. We don't have to use any other equipment. Just the container can be used to apply the medication. And of course, because it's with convenience and it's with speed, it's very easy to use. So patient will comply with the therapy with the use of aerosols. It's efficient dispersion. As we said that the drug is uniformly dispersed into the less than 50 micrometer size, so it's an efficient dispersion that can be applied uniformly. The aerosols also avoid the manual contact with the skin, and the contact with the skin can cause the uncleaning of the skin, or may cause the increase the chances of the microbial growth, or increase the chances of the infection. So with the help of the aerosols, there is minimum contact of the person with the medicament as well as with the skin. With the help of the aerosols, we can immediately apply the aerosols onto the site of action. It's very effective for topical use. With the help of the aerosols, high concentration of drugs can be delivered onto the affected area. We know that which specific area where the pain is present, or where the inflammation is present, or where the wound is present, and we can specifically apply the drug onto that area without any further use of any other equipment. Application without manual contact produces minimum irritation of the painful area. Now, for example, if the site of application, the person has a lot of pain at the site of application, if we are using the drug or applying the drug by the help of a hand or with the help of any other equipment, even for example in the situation of the burns, the spirit swab can the swab can cause the problems. So if we are using the aerosols, we can apply the drug without any contact with the skin, and eventually it is irritation of or the painful symptoms of the skin will not be produced. The other advantages of the aerosols include the rapid response to the medicament. As we are applying the medicament onto the local area, a rapid response onto the local area will be produced. If you are giving the drug through the mouth, it will go, of course, into the GI tract. From the GI tract, it will be absorbed into the systemic circulation, and then it will reach at the site of action to produce the effect. However, when we are giving the drugs through the aerosols, we are applying the drug onto the affected area, so the drug will immediately produce its effect onto the affected area. Controlled and uniform dosage form produced by the metered valves. Now there are specialized valves can be used into the aerosols, and with the help of those specialized valves, and a specific amount of the drug will be released at a single push. Even if you keep the actuating button pushed, only a specific amount of the drug will be dispersed or sprayed. No further amount will be dispersed. So, a specific dose of the drug can be given to the patient at a single push. Even we can change the form or the output of the aerosol by changing the pressure. If we are decreasing the pressure, a coarse wet spray will be produced, and if we are increasing the pressure, a fine dry mist will be produced. The particle size will be decreased if we are increasing the pressure, because particles will be coming with a lot more speed, so a wet dry mist will be produced. And of course, for the inhalation spray, we need the fine mist. Okay, we don't need coarse wet spray. For the inhalation purpose, we need a fine mist spray. So depending upon the use, if we are using for the inhalation purpose, we will use a fine mist. If we are using for a topical purpose, we want a layer of the material should be formed onto the skin, we can use a coarse wet spray. As we have earlier discussed that the ointments can also be administered with the help of the aerosols. Insufflations of the pressurized powders are also available. We can also design or give the powders with the help of the aerosols. The powder form of the drugs will be present into the container, and with the single push of the button, powders will be spread onto the affected area, rather than using any puffs for the application of the powder. If the drug is soluble into the propellant, as we have earlier discussed, propellant is the material which produces the pressure inside the container, and with the help of that pressure, uh, the drug is coming out of the actuator with the push of the button. But most of the drugs are not soluble into the propellant. So firstly, we have to solubilize the drug into a solvent that is soluble into the propellant. So this will be a lot more difficult formulation. But if the drug is soluble into the propellant, the formulation will be much easier. Further advantages of the aerosol include that there is no contamination of the product from environment since the system is pressurized. The aerosol containers are completely sealed, so there is no chance that any substance or any microorganism is going into the container and contaminating the product. Like if we are using the creams, even the tubes or the jars, okay, there are chances that the external particles may go into the container, or microbes may go into the container. Even when we are taking the drug out from the container, there are chances that we can contaminate the container and the drug or the product that is present inside the container. But if we are using the aerosols, these are sealed containers, and there are no chances that the quality of the product will be compromised or it will be contaminated. Next is the sterility of the sterile products. Some of the products should be given into the sterile condition. There should be no microorganisms present into the products. Okay, or for example, any of the product that is applied onto the wounds, these should be sterilized, because if any of the microorganism is present into the product, it will increase the chances of the infection onto the damaged skin. So if we are giving the drug or packaging the drug into the aerosol into a sterilized form, its sterility will be maintained throughout the life of the container. Next is the light sensitive drugs can be protected by using opaque or amber colored glass containers. So if the drug is sensitive to light, we can package the drug into, for example, aluminum containers, or even the stainless steel can also be used to make the containers, and eventually the drug will be protected from the light, or even the amber glass containers can be used to save the drug from light. Next advantage is, in the containers of the aerosols, there is no presence of the air. There is only drug, maybe a solvent and a propellant. There is no any air present inside the container. So as a result, those drugs which are sensitive to oxidation or oxidation caused by the air will be protected into the containers of the aerosols. There are also less chances of the hydrolysis, since propellant contains no water, and because of that, the drugs which are sensitive to hydrolysis or which will be broken down due to the process of hydrolysis, they will be protected to the containers of the aerosols. Finally, drugs given by oral inhalation can be protected from GI secretion, or any of the drugs that may be destroyed into the GI tract, or acids present into the GI tract, or any of the enzymes or secretions of the GI tract, they can be formulated as inhalations, and they can be given through the mouth or nose, and through the mouth or nose they can be absorbed into the systemic circulation. Is none of the dosage forms are perfect, so also there are certain disadvantages of the aerosols as well. The first disadvantage of the aerosol is the high cost. The container, propellant, and filling methods of the aerosols are quite expensive, so the product will be quite expensive. Because of the volatility and refrigerant effect, the propellant can irritate the injured skin, though the refrigerant effect can also relieve the pain symptoms, but these two effects, the volatility and the refrigerant effect, can cause, in some situations, can cause irritation as well as injure the skin. To certain individuals, the fluorinated hydrocarbons may exhibit carcinogenic effect following rapid and repeated use. The fluorinated hydrocarbons are basically the propellants that are used into the aerosol containers, and some of these fluorinated hydrocarbons have caused cancer in certain types of the individual, not all of the individuals, but in some of the patients, they may produce the carcinogenic effect if they are being used repeatedly or rapidly. The aerosol specs must be away from heat and fire, because it may develop high pressure inside the container leading to explosion. So any of the container or any of the pressurized packs which has pressurized gases inside them, if we keep them into a hot place, even if the container is placed into open sunshine, the heat present over there may cause the explosion of the container because of the increased pressure. So they have to be placed into a cool place or at a room temperature, so there should be no increase of the pressure. and there will be less chances of the explosion as well. The next disadvantage of the aerosols is the disposal. The disposal may be difficult because the residual amount of the propellant exerts a pressure within a pack. Even there is no drug into the container, we cannot discard the container easily. Okay, there are specialized technique to destroy that container. Next, when the drug is not soluble in propellant, some formulation difficulties are encountered to formulate suspension or emulsion. As I have already told you that in some of the situations the drug is soluble into the propellant. If the drug is soluble into the propellant, we can simply dissolve the drugs into the propellant and a formulation will be made. But if the drug is not soluble into the propellant, we have to first dissolve the drug into a separate solvent. That solvent is soluble into the propellant. But even in certain situations, we have to emulsify the drug into an external phase that is soluble into the propellant, or we have to suspend the drug into external phase or suspending phase that is soluble into the propellant. So it's difficult to formulate aerosol preparation. There are chances of the catalytic oxidation of the drugs like ascorbic acid or ephedrine, and this is caused by the traces of the metals that are coming from the wall or traces of the metals that are coming from the container. In most of the situations, even in all of the situations, the valve assembly is made up of the metal, while the container may be made up of the glass or may be made up of the aluminum or tin foil. So the metals that are used for making the aerosols may contaminate or may cause catalytic oxidation of some drugs. The last disadvantage is that it is necessary to test the formulation against all parts of the container due to stability problems. In all of the formulation or in all of the dosage forms, we have to make sure that the active ingredient is stable with all the components of the formulation. Even it's a binder, we say, even we say it's the granulating agent or the lubricating agent. Okay, but in the cases of the aerosols, we have to make sure that the drug is also stable with the container, all the metal that we are using for making the container, the materials that are we are using to making the actuator, the materials which we are using to make the valve assembly, these all should also be stable with the drug. So this is all about the aerosol. Thank you very much for your time.